Good morning, Class 1, and welcome to your Monday morning literacy session today. Okay, so over this week and next week, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be thinking about a traditional tale. A traditional tale that you might be familiar with and you might have heard of before. Now, the reason we're going to be using this traditional tale is because we want you to become really good story writers by the end of it. Have a go at writing our own stories. And traditional tales is a great way to do that because they have a really nice structure to the story. They have some really strong characters in the story. And getting to know a traditional tale really well then helps us magpie and steal ideas from that story, maybe change a few little bits and then put them into our own version. So today what we're going to be doing is having a think about the story and really trying to learn it well. Okay, so I wonder what story we're going to be thinking about. Now I've got a few clues to share with you today. And I wonder if you can think about the story that you think we're going to be learning. Okay, so here are my clues. Okay, my first clue is a bunch of flowers. Okay, my second clue are some apples. My next clue, a pair of glasses. Wonder if you're thinking if you know the story now. My next clue, a basket. I bet you're guessing it by now, aren't you? A basket. And my final clue, and I'm sure this one's going to give it away, is a red cape. A red cape. Okay. So I'm sure you've guessed our story is The Little Red Riding Hood. And that's the story we're going to be reading and learning today. So I'm going to be sharing on the screen our version of Little Red Riding Hood. I want you to follow along with the text and the story where you can. Listen very carefully. Then at the end of it, I'm going to give you a challenge to do, something to do in your literacy session today. Okay, so I'm just going to get the screen up and share the story with you. Okay, Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She lived with her parents in a house by a deep, dark forest. On the other side of the forest, in a little cottage, lived her grandmother. Little Red Riding Hood could get there by walking along the forest path. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her. She needed to bring some food to her grandma. She bravely walked along, knowing that in the forest lived a big, bad wolf. Little Red Riding Hood had not been walking for very long when, out of the trees, came the big, bad wolf. "Where are you going?" hissed the big, bad wolf. "I'm taking this food to my grandma's cottage," replied the little girl, "but you can't stop me." Quickly, the wolf hatched a plan. This girl is very small. Her grandma would make a much bigger meal, he thought. He left Little Red Riding Hood picking flowers in the forest. That told him, thought Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf ran quickly along the forest path. He knew Little Red Riding Hood would not be long. The wolf knocked on the cottage door. "Oh, Grandma," he squeaked, "it's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "That's not my granddaughter," thought Grandma. "It must be the wolf." And she quickly hid under the bed. The wolf got fed up of waiting by the door, so he let himself in. "Grandma must have popped out," he thought. The wolf decided to wait for Little Red Riding Hood. I dress up as Grandma, she'll never guess it's me, thought the wolf. Soon Little Red Riding Hood was knocking on Grandma's door. Come in, said the wolf in a husky voice. Nervously, Little Red Riding Hood opened the door. That didn't sound like Grandma, she thought. Little Red Riding Hood looked at the wolf. You're not my Grandma, she shouted. Well, I'm going to eat you up anyway, said the wolf, jumping out of bed. But as he jumped out, Grandma's nightcap flopped right over his eyes. Just then, while the wolf was confused, Grandma pulled Little Red Riding Hood under the bed. Hearing all the commotion, a passing woodcutter ran into the cottage and chased the wolf away. He looked around for Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood. We're under here, said Grandma. Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma were so happy they invited the woodcutter to stay for tea. The wolf never came back to bother them again. I'm staying right here. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our Little Red Riding Hood story there. One of my favourite traditional tales, that one. Now, your job today is this. I would like you to go back and listen to the story a few more times. Older ones, you can help read the story at home by following along with your finger, see how much of the story you can read. And younger children, reception children, maybe you get one of the grown-ups in your house to read it back to you. Now, your job while you're listening to the story again is to learn some actions for some of the parts of the story, and this will really help us remember the story. Okay, so reception children, I would like you to learn actions for Little Red Riding Hood, Grandma, the woodcutter, the mother, the wolf, and the cottage. So let's do one together, shall we, so I can help you with some ideas. Let's have a think about an action for the wolf. So every time you hear the wolf's name in the story, you need to do the action. So my action for a wolf would be this. Mean face, and of course he's got his big ears as well. So every time I hear the word wolf, I'm going to do my wolf action. You can choose a different action if you like. Okay, so don't worry about remembering all of those all of the actions. I'm going to pop them on Dojo so you can have a look there and just see which ones you've got to remember. Okay, so reception, I want you to have a go learning the actions to all of those, and then as you read the story through, pop the actions to the characters in the story. Okay, year ones and twos, I've got a bigger job for you because I want you to learn some more actions. I want you to learn some actions for food, for walk, flowers, eat, eyes, bed, and forest, as well as all the ones that the reception children have got to learn. So as I said, don't worry about it. I'm going to put all of the action words in Dojo and listen to the story again, add the actions as you're going, and maybe have a go at doing the story a few times through so you're really good at it. So do you remember when we do this in school, we walk and talk the story, adding those actions and helping us remember what comes next. That's really going to help that story stick in your mind. Okay, so go back onto Dojo. The PowerPoint of the story is on there, as well as all the words I want you to learn the actions for. Have lots of fun doing it today. And then tomorrow in literacy, we're going to have a go at making a special map of the story to help us remember it as well. Okay, so have lots of fun with your literacy today. Can't wait to see your actions. Pop some of them on Dojo if you can, a little video of you doing them, because we'd really love to see you all being a wolf and being Grandma and being the little girl, Little Red Riding Hood. Okay, so have fun in literacy today and good luck, guys.